You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, hello everyone and welcome in a beautiful, nice, crisp, cold night up here in New England. But thank you for coming in and wanting to be with us here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Friends, this is where we expose the Jehovah's Witnesses. And we all know they have a lot of problems going on right now. We know they have a very tarnished image, but by all means, we're going to be talking about that tonight. And we have a woman coming in from California. She's an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and she has the program called Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. Now, friends, maybe this is your first time listening in, but let me just give you a little idea how unique this is. In this particular program, you can call in live. You can call in real time. I'll put the number up so you'll be able to see it if you're listening in on YouTube and Facebook. And you'll be able to talk to Anne Marie. And I'm sure you have concerns if you've been in the Watchtower or you're still in it and being loyal, but you're starting to doubt it, a PIMQ, so to speak. Well, by all means, Anne Marie will entertain your feelings and your thoughts and your story. So she's going to be on here tonight, and she'll be so glad to talk to you. So Anne Marie, you're there with us, right?
I'm right here with you, Rick.
All right. So Anne Marie, what's on the agenda tonight?
Well, the subject today is the lost children of the Watchtower, stolen childhood.
Well, that sounds really intriguing. I'm wondering, I mean, I think I know where you're going with it. When children grow up, especially being in the Watchtower with very loyal Jehovah's Witness parents, these children can get lost very easily. They can get discombobulated in life to the point that they don't know what's up and what's down, what's right, what's wrong. So I'm really looking forward to tonight's program, Anne Marie. So won't that be great that you can get people calling in and talking about this subject?
Well, especially if they were growing up in the Watchtower, if they were so indoctrinated that they raised their own children in the Watchtower and basically they stole their children's childhood from them, the childhood they should have had.
Well, I think everyone listening to this program that's been involved with the Watchtower, I think they'll totally disagree, not disagree, but agree with everything you have to say concerning the lost children of the Watchtower. So I'm going to put the telephone number up, and I'm going to let you kind of take the program from here. But Anne Marie, I'm here if you need me.
Oh, thank you so much, my brother. You know, I always appreciate you and Susan.
Thank you. Are you there, Anne Marie?
Yeah.
Okay.
We on?
Yeah, you're on. You ready to roll? Yep, you're ready to roll.
I want to roll. Well, welcome everyone to today's show, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. Today is Saturday, December 14, 2024. And again, the theme of this particular show is the lost children of the Watchtower, stolen childhood. I don't know about you guys, but I used to have a beautiful, almost a storybook childhood until my mother joined the Watchtower organization, and they indoctrinated her so thoroughly that she took away everything that made us happy. All our birthdays, our play, Easter, Christmas, Halloween. She used to make everything so fun. I want to welcome everyone. Always I first welcome the PIMQs. Those are still physically in the Watchtower, still faithful, but mentally they're questioning. And when you're questioning in the Watchtower, but you're still faithful, you're afraid that, you know, your programming tells you that if you question the Watchtower, the governing body, that somehow Satan is getting in your mind. Satan's trying to get you to leave Jehovah. And that's a very scary place to be because you can't talk to anybody. If you say anything to anybody, you will most likely be looked at with suspicion and reported to the elders. I want to also welcome the PMOs, those who are physically in the Watchtower, but mentally they are out. They are awake. They've done the research. They know the Watchtower for the evil organization, the cult that it is, but they have to keep playing the part of being a faithful Jehovah's Witness because they don't want to lose their family, their wife, their husband, their children, their parents, their grandparents, their friends. Also want to welcome all those who have finally made it out. Even though we've made it out, a lot of us still carry that programming deep inside of us. Everyone who is listening and who will listen later in the archives, I welcome you. This is a safe place. The 6 Screens of the Watchtower with Rick Barron, this platform that he provides is a safe place. The name of the show, again, is Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower, as we all were. And if anybody wants to call in to comment, to say hello, go ahead and hit *6 because I'm going to be saying a few things and I don't want you to have to wait. Anyone want to chime in? *6. On the subject of the lost children of the Watchtower, stolen childhood, you know, just basically, I just took a few notes. If you're a little child, imagine you're never allowed to be normal. Not normal at school. You're not allowed to participate in normal activities at school, have regular friends, maybe go to their house. Oh, they're worldly. They're set apart, often embarrassed, made to feel awkward, made to feel weird, made fun of, teased, bullied sometimes, not allowed to participate in sports, no cheerleading, no extracurricular after-school activities or clubs. And again, they're not allowed any non-Jehovah's Witness friends. And at home, you know, home is supposed to be a safe place where you know you're loved. Maybe you have problems with people outside your home, but at home, you're supposed to feel like you're loved, like you belong, like you're accepted. But at home, it's like you're always pushed to, you know, prepare for the meetings, pushed to behave right, to think right, believe right. You have to participate in service in some way, like letter writing or phone calls or whatever. In Watchtower, if you're a little kid, you really don't have anything to look forward to. You know, they say in psychology that a large part of being happy is having something to look forward to. And, you know, everybody knows that psychologically speaking. We have holidays almost every month of the year. There's a holiday. We have Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, Easter, and so on. But when you're in the Watchtower, you don't have anything really to look forward to. In fact, a lot of times they're made to feel guilty if they go camping or want to go to an amusement park or have some kind of gathering. Anything that's fun, it's kind of a hit and miss in the Watchtower world. And they're kept apart from worldly relatives. They might have cousins or, you know, family that they are not really allowed to associate with because they're not part of Jehovah's organization. So Jehovah's Witness children were always made to feel unloved and uncared for by their relatives because their relatives never really get to know them if they're kept away from them. They're almost made to feel like outcasts in their own blood family. Jehovah's Witness children are often terribly lonely and very stressed, often depressed, with no real sense of any future because every day's the same. Prepare for meetings, act the part of a good, obedient Jehovah's Witness child. They're always trying to, hold on just one moment, they're always trying to please their Jehovah's Witness parents because Jehovah's Witness parents are indoctrinated as part of the Watchtower programming to basically indoctrinate their own children, to program their own children. So children intuitively know that they have to please their Jehovah's Witness parents who only love them, and that's in quotes, if they're good, little, obedient Jehovah's Witness kids who make their Jehovah's Witness parents proud. And if they act out of line or out of accordance with what's expected, they feel like they're not loved. They're not accepted. You know, the number one psychological need of human beings is not to be loved, is to be accepted. When you feel you're not accepted, I mean, with one word or one comment or one question, a child can feel the sudden disapproval of their parents. Does anybody want to speak? I hear coughing. Somebody's coughing. Would you like to speak, or could you mute your phone? Anybody's welcome to speak at any time. Always say, this is your show. Jehovah's Witness children, they're not allowed to ask wrong questions. They're not allowed to question the Watchtower authority, in essence, the governing body. They're not allowed to do research on the Watchtower history or their beliefs or teachings. Elders and other Jehovah's Witnesses always seem to be pushing the Jehovah's Witness children to conform. They often get criticized or admonished to do better, constantly reminding the children to be good examples, chastised regarding their style of dress or their hair. Sisters are often picked on for being too pretty or too sexy. Your dress is too short, your dress is too tight, your dress is too low. And you know what really bothered me is, as children, many of these kids actually have talents. My great-grandson is practically a baseball star. He's on his way to, you know, being a professional. He loves it. He's loved it since he was a baby, when he couldn't even talk. He was absolutely enamored watching basketball. What if he was raised in the Watchtower? What if his parents were Jehovah's Witnesses? He wouldn't have been ever allowed to participate in basketball. Some children are talented musically. They even had a video on JW.org, I believe it was, where the child was so talented he had a chance to go to a special school for his talent, and his father basically said, is this putting Jehovah first? Is this serving Jehovah? And just made him feel like a piece of garbage because he wanted to, you know, maybe go to Juilliard. He was probably qualified, but it's just not fair. He almost made you feel guilty if you have a talent for singing or for music or for acting, or you have a dream of being a teacher or a doctor. Oh no, that's not putting Jehovah first. So much talent in the Watchtower children that they might have. So much of their talent is squashed. Their dreams of a certain career squashed. The dream of maybe higher education is strongly discouraged, highly discouraged. No matter how hard Jehovah's Witness children strive to please their parents, it's never enough, because sooner or later you're going to pop and say something or feel rebellious. But boy, you better whip yourself back into shape. They're always being pushed to be baptized, and that's the scariest thing, because children want to please their parents because they want to feel that their parents are proud of them, that they are accepted, that they're loved. And so a lot of them go ahead and get baptized to please their parents, and then there's the never-ending pressure to do even more. It gets worse. And God forbid if they hit puberty and say something wrong or do something wrong or get mad because they feel like they've been picked on, and maybe they stand up for themselves and then they get in trouble. And if they continue to, you know, stand up for themselves, then the parent says, oh, you're being rebellious, goes to the elders, and the elders try to get them to say they're sorry and admit they were wrong, like that 12-year-old boy we talked about a few weeks ago. This poor little boy refused to say he was sorry or that he was wrong, and they disfellowshipped this 12-year-old boy. And that poor little boy had to live in his own home, being shunned by his own brothers and sisters and by his own parents. Never allowed to sit at the dinner table with them, never allowed to join them in the living room to watch TV, had to stay in his room almost all the time. Can you imagine the psychological and emotional pain? This is just absolutely so wrong. And this has happened and has probably still happening in the Watchtower. Baptized children, especially, again, are under so much pressure that they feel unloved, they feel unseen, unacknowledged, and they don't even feel like they're really cared about. Jehovah's Witness children living under constant fear of being removed is a terrible strain. I hate that word remove because we know the real word is more explicit exactly of what is done to them, being disfellowshipped. You are basically thrown away like you are garbage. You are put out as if they're just disposable garbage. They have the fear of being shunned and thrown out of their own home by their own family. I've heard of kids as young as 14 years old, get out. Literally, get out. Here's your stuff, thrown out in the yard. You don't belong to our family. You've gone to Satan. Get out. Don't want to see you. 14 years old, I've heard of that. I heard of one young girl that she had stood up for herself so much that finally her father put her in a car, drove her to another town in the middle of the night, gave her a blanket and $20 and dropped her off at a gas station that was closed in the middle of the night. And this is true. It's horrible. During a child's most developing years of their brain and their character and their emotions, they're kept in a virtual prison. They're chained and shackled by Watchtower's rules, mandates, regulations, and constant threats of severe punishment should they fail in any way. And this isn't just what they hear at the meetings or at the assemblies or read in the literature. They know it intuitively by every look, by every intonation of their parents' voice. They have that fear that at any time they could be thrown out or shunned. Jehovah's Witnesses children are trapped in their Watchtower life. They didn't ask to be raised in the Watchtower or born into the Watchtower. The mental and emotional stress that they are always under, it's horrible. Their parents, they're always knowing that their parents' love is conditional on whether they are a good witness of Jehovah, always knowing that their parents' approval of them depends upon how well the Jehovah's Witness child lives up to their Watchtower indoctrinated parent expectations, knowing that their parents' love and approval could change in an instant. Can you imagine the internal turmoil and emotional damage that Jehovah's Witness child must endure? And if the Jehovah's Witness child is older, say 14 to 18, again, they know they can literally be thrown out of their home. Or if they're younger and baptized, they could be removed or disfellowshipped and shunned by their own family, again, like that 12-year-old boy we mentioned. These examples, people, are real, and they have happened many times and continue to happen to thousands of innocent Jehovah's Witness children who had no choice in being born into the Watchtower or being brought into the Watchtower cult. This is a truly dictatorial, tyrannical, very cold-hearted cult. And it's very hard for the witnesses that are trying so hard to be good witnesses, but to be a child and you're struggling to figure out who you are and, your own identity. You're not even allowed to really develop your identity because you're being constantly told how you have to be, how you have to think, what you have to believe, how you have to dress, how you have to behave, who you can talk to, who you can be friends with. It's just, I can't, even though I went through it, I cannot imagine what it's like for so many other Jehovah's Witness children who I know had it so much harder than I did. Would anybody like to comment? Does anybody want to share maybe how it was for them as a Jehovah's Witness child? Or perhaps you were a Jehovah's Witness parent who, well-meaning as you were, raised your children to, try to be these perfect little robot Jehovah's Witness children. I did it to my children. I stole their childhood. I stole the childhood that my children should have had. And I have to see the damage almost every day. Almost every time I talk to them, I can see the damage that I have done. It's so wrong. Go ahead, dear.
Somebody else wants to talk.
Sister, go first and then you. Okay, go ahead, sister.
Okay, I raised 3 kids. This is Jane Doe. I raised 3 kids in it. They couldn't go to anybody else's house, unless they were witnesses. and the only kids that they could come over to our house, these worldly kids, but my kids couldn't go to their house. They couldn't take classes on nights that were meeting nights, like gymnastics. There was classes that they could have took. We all know that they can't join. Like they had this video. Watchtower had this video of JW Broadcasting where this, at the end where they're playing that country song. They have this kid playing basketball, and he's got like a shirt on that looks like he belongs to a team. Well, we all know that they can't join teams, in school. They can't do that. So why they made this kid look like he was on a basketball team? We know that our kids could not join any team. They couldn't join anything like that. They couldn't go to anything that was on a meeting night. They couldn't have friends outside that religion. And even at a young age, they had to answer at the meetings, because if they didn't answer at the meetings, they were considered bad association. And they were bad association unless they answered at the meetings and wanted to get baptized and go in service at young age. And so they couldn't have friends outside that religion. And the only friends they could have inside that religion is if they answered and went in service. If their dad was an elder, that really worked better for them. But if their dad, wasn't an elder, they were left out. And if somebody in that family gets disfellowshipped, they all get disfellowshipped. So yeah, it's awful. They get baptized because they want to fit in, and it's not just the parents. I mean, the whole congregation won't accept them, so they have zero friends unless they conform to what Watchtower says they're supposed to be like. They're considered bad association. So yeah, it's horrible what they did to my kids. I did it too.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jane Doe, and the regrets. I know I have. I know you must have as well. Brother, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Anne Marie. I'd just like to take it back just a little bit. These children, they get baptized at 13, 14, 15 years old. They need to experiment with life. They just don't know what's going down. They think they do, but they don't. And if they make a mistake, they get disfellowship. Smoking, maybe they kissed a girl when they shouldn't have, or done a little more than that. And they're gone, their family life is destroyed. I just kind of think of myself, I got the Jehovah's Witness when I was 21, and I was still in the Marine Corps. And I drank plenty, smoked dope, had as much sex as I could possibly get my hands on, and did all kinds of stuff. Then I heard Armageddon was going to come in 75. I didn't clean up my act. I was going to die. Well, I came back from that without a scratch. That was kind of a surprise. And so, I didn't want to die at Armageddon. So, you stop doing those things. Well, that's a good thing. But some of those habits, they die hard. They're still in the back of your mind. You enjoyed them. You had fun with them. And some of those, you don't clean up your act sometimes overnight. If you're cleaning up your act because you love God, absolutely, you can probably do that. But if you're cleaning up your act so that you can make it through Armageddon, you're going to have a hard time with it. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Well, thank you, Brother Dick. Thank you so much. Jane Doe, thank you also for your really great comment. Also as a JW kid, I mean, it's just not, you can't really function when you're constantly constrained. So Jehovah's Witness children, to survive, they know they have to conform and perform and play the act, but they learn to live two lives. They learn how to lie and how to hide and how to sneak. And it's not because they're bad kids, it's because it's a survival skill. Would anybody like to comment on anything Jane Doe said? Yes, who's this?
Hi, Anne-Marie. This is Stephan. Really enjoying the program tonight. This touches very close to my heart because I was one of those born-ins. I think my parents came into the cult when I was about 3. So it's pretty much all I knew. And you're so right. Our childhood is definitely stolen from us. I'm not going to repeat everything everybody else has been saying. I'll just say this. Much later in life, I got married to a witness. Marriage didn't work out. And, so I'm trying to piece together a life for myself. And so I just sat down and said, okay, who am I? What do I like? What do I think? And every time I would get down to what do I like, I never had an answer. I could never really sit down and kind of pinpoint things that I liked in life. I'd see other people, they couldn't wait for the weekend to get here so they can go golf or they can go on a boat or they can go do this and do that. And I couldn't think of anything that I really wanted to do, and I couldn't understand why. It's like, what is wrong with me? What do I like in life? Who am I? What am I? And it dawned on me, it's because as a born-in, we were never allowed to develop as unique individuals. We had to have this Watchtower image superimposed upon us. And the more you superimpose it upon you, the more spiritual you're going to be viewed. So we never developed as ourselves. So I had to kind of go back and think to my childhood and even say as a child, as an 8-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever, what do I like? And I started saying, well, I always liked electronics and I always liked cars. And I had to go and kind of expose myself to things until it kind of clicked in my brain. These are the things I like. These are the things I could care less about. And then I started developing hobbies, which is another thing you're never really allowed to do as a Watchtower witness, is develop a hobby, because every microsecond of your day needs to be spent in something spiritual. And that's how I started kind of putting together the things that I liked and who I was as a person. And again, it all goes back to, as the comments have said, our childhood having been taken away from us. We never got to develop and grow as individuals. And of course, this is all by design from this cult called Watchtower.
Well said, Stephen. And when we say spiritual, that's just another euphemism in the Watchtower. It really means cult performing and conforming. You're doing something for the cult. That means you're spiritual. It's like when they call morning worship at the Bethel breakfast. It's just basically sizing talk, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I'll just mention one more thing very quickly. I was disfellowship when I was a kid. I think I was in high school. My brain has a tendency to push things out that it doesn't want to remember, but I believe I was in high school, and I had that same experience. My dad was not a witness, and I was very close to my dad. My dad and I were best buds. So my dad never treated me any different. In fact, I think he was actually nicer to me and very defensive, because he didn't like to see his kid going through anything. My mom, on the other hand, was just a demon. She was a regular pioneer. But when they disfellowshipped me, she didn't talk to me. I was expected to basically come home from school and stay in my room, come out to eat or come out to use the bathroom. Now, when my dad got home, different story. But until he got home, so it's like you're disfellowshipped in the congregation, and then you're partially disfellowshipped in your own house. And that went on up until I was reinstated, and all of a sudden she wanted to kind of act like all things are back to normal. Well, things are never back to normal. I always kind of kept her at an emotional distance. You don't get to hurt me and walk all over me like I'm some kind of a welcome mat. And then just because I'm quote unquote reinstated, you can go back to trying to act halfway nice. So she was always kind of at arm's length. And this is another thing Watchtower witnesses need to know. When you mistreat your children, that relationship is probably irreparable. And I guarantee you down the road, when you get up in age, and I've said this before, when you get up in age and you think Watchtower is going to take care of you, there is no Watchtower that's going to take care of you. Those witnesses that you attend services with, you think they're not going to take care of you. And if you have alienated yourself from your own family, you are in big trouble.
Wow. Stephen, how old were you, if you don't mind sharing, when they disfellowshipped you?
Well, Anne-Marie, I was in high school, so I had to be probably 15, 16. Because I got baptized at 13. I was in 8th grade. I remember this now. And so I had to be, like I said, 16, 17, somewhere in that neighborhood.
That is so horrible. It's amazing you survived it. It's like your mother, now I love you, now I don't, you're garbage, you're nothing to me. Oh, have you again. The
Exactly.
emotion, terrible mental damage. I'm so sorry.
And I'll tell you something interesting. I had a close friend. He was a person that I told you about, Anne Marie, that was disfellowship for 18 years. I don't know if you remember me telling you that experience. But this same guy, he's about 3 years older than me. He comes from a family, I think it's 5 of them. And his father was an elder. His father was one of the worst human beings I ever met in terms of being an elder. And he would say all throughout, our childhood, how much he hated his father. Now, his father was the elder. His father was the one that everybody thought was so great. I always kind of saw through his BS, and I treated him at arm's distance. And I told you, I was very close to my father, who was not a witness. And this kid, who was the witness kid, whose dad was an elder, always on the platform and running the meetings and all that, and he hated his own father. And that was just such an eye-opening thing to hear somebody say they hated their own father. He used to actually pray to Jehovah that Jehovah would kill his father. And his father was not only a witness, but an elder. My father, who wasn't a witness, was a great person, to the point where even the kids from the Kingdom Hall would come over to my house specifically to talk to my dad. They didn't talk to any of the elders. They didn't talk to their own parents. They only wanted to talk to my dad because he just kind of had that rapport. So that should have told me all along there's something majorly screwed up with this organization.
No doubt. And it's a shame that the kind of people that your friend's father was as an elder, those are the ones that get to be elders. And some of them are the absolute most unkind, unloving, narcissistic, horrible, egotistical, maniac people.
I couldn't say it any better, Anne Marie. I could not say it any better. Thank you.
Well, I thank you for calling in. Is there anything you'd like to add, Stephan?
Nope, that's it. I'm just going to go back on hold and listen.
Well, I'm so happy you called in. Would anybody like to comment on anything Stephan said? *6, the show is for you.
Well, thank you, Anne Marie. I think I'd jump on again if it's okay. I think what Stephan had to say was really very appropriate because I can relate to that. On the other side of it, me being disfellowshipped, when my youngest son was graduating from high school, I bought him a car, nice car, fixed it all up, rebuilt the engine, transmission, gave him the car. He raced around with it like a jerk, smashed it up, almost killed his best friend. I paid all his court costs and all his tickets, the whole bit. Then I bought him another van for the job that he was doing. And after I finished giving him everything that I could, monetarily and physically, he turned around and wrote me the most nastiest letter. And I remember reading it. I'm walking across my lawn, and it actually buckled my knees. And I hit the ground. I couldn't believe the venom, the hatred. That all comes from that organization telling him, your father's disfellowship. He is a demon. He's an enemy of Jehovah. And if it was legal for the Watchtower, they would have stolen me to death. And since that time, I have not been able to have any kind of a relationship with him. That organization teaches hate to children. If someone is not a Jehovah's Witness, you got to be careful of them. Well, my 20 years as a Jehovah's Witness, something I learned: Jehovah's Witnesses aren't that honest at all. I have Jehovah's Witnesses that still owe me thousands of dollars, money that I've lent out. And Joe Diodario, we talked to him this week. He was telling us he was a former elder, but all the money he lent out and never got back. So it's a very despicable organization. They teach hatred for people that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, or if people are Jehovah's Witnesses and have been disfellowshipped, they're to be hated. And that is such a sad thing, especially when that's directed at a parent. The fifth commandment is to honor thy father and mother. And it doesn't say except if 3 elders in a kangaroo court decide to disfellowship him. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Well, thank you so much, Dick. You know, it damages a child who totally believes in the Watchtower to shun their own parent who loves them and who did everything they could to love them and care for them and provide for them and give to them like you did. And, you know, that is just so abnormal, and that causes severe damage. You know, my own brother, who hasn't spoken to me in many years, he recently, his wife just died, and I tried to reach out for him because he's my little brother. He was an elder for 25 years, and he broke down, and he texted me that he has always loved me, and, you know, he's sorry that we can't have a quote unquote normal relationship because of my situation, as he put it. But the thing is, the damage, you know, he was just so young when I got put out, and it's been almost 40 years. And, you know, I'm his sister. I should be there for him, but I can't because of what, you know, the Watchtower teaches. And I just cannot really see Jehovah's Witnesses as Jehovah's Witnesses because they're supposed to be representing the Almighty Heavenly Father, but what they really are is supposed to be witnesses of the Watchtower. They're faithful to the Watchtower. They obey the Watchtower. They believe whatever the Watchtower tells them to believe, and they act and behave and shun whoever, you know, whatever they're told, however they're told by the Watchtower. They're Watchtower rights because their God is the Watchtower. And to treat your own, even your wife, what does that do to a child when one parent shuns the child, like Stephen had to live through? One parent turns on their own child like, you're nothing to me. You don't exist. You're an enemy. I don't love you. But the father gives him real love. You know, what does that do to a child? How do you wrap your poor little head around that? When you're a child, you're still developing. It's just so wrong. Anybody want to jump in? This is
Calling Anne Marie.
Yeah, who's this?
This is Larry from New Jersey.
Oh, Larry, how are you?
I'm just taking it one day at a time, you know. Looking forward to the new year, which would be 2025, and I'm trying to stay alive until 2025 because it gives me something to look forward to, something to live for August 1, 2, and 3 of 2025. I wanted to, I was going to say compliments to you on picking such a relevant and meaningful topic, an important topic to discuss. That is the lost children of the Watchtower. Or you could even have a corollary title to that, a secondary title, simply the children of the Watchtower, which in fact I am one of them. And I've had, of course, a number of bad experiences as a child. I was, of course, born in, and my family, it was a single working mother, and myself and my brother. So it was difficult. But being that I was born in, I found one of the big, most important, significant things, being a Jehovah's Witness and being born in, was going to school, specifically elementary school, junior high school, and high school. And of course, the big problem, the big issue there with a Jehovah's Witness child was two big things. One, the standing for the national anthem, and the second thing was the flag salute. And of course, these were what we call morning scheduled exercises. Each and every day, each and every morning, when you were in school, you had these morning exercises. And one odd thing I've come to realize about it is right now I have an entirely different viewpoint on what I went through during the 12 years of schooling as compared to, so my feeling about it now is completely different than what it was when I was actually going through it. Of course, right now, I think back on it, and I now think, I now realize how very, very hard and very, very difficult, and even I'm going to use the word torturous, that was to face that each and every day going to school. But and now I look back and think about it, and I think about how it no doubt influenced my personality in some way. It forced me to have a certain attitude in life, a certain personality in life that's perhaps not for the better. But at the time I was going through it, you know, I was a very very believing, very zealous Jehovah's Witness, of course, fully convinced that we had the truth and we were the only ones that had the truth and a true religion. And we were following the examples in the Bible. You had Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were confronted with bowing down to the false idol that Nebuchadnezzar put up. But boy, they were strong. They were faithful. They would obey Jehovah God no matter what. They would never bow down to the false idol of Nebuchadnezzar, even if they were thrown into the fiery furnace. But you know what happened? They were rescued and they were rewarded and so on and so forth for being faithful. So that was my overwhelming attitude about myself at the time, and about not standing ever for the national anthem and never saluting the flag. But just very briefly, now I look back on it and see how difficult it was. In the first grade, we had the morning exercises, and at that time it included an automatic Bible reading each and every morning. The first grade teacher, her name was Mrs. McClellan, I still remember it, and she would go through the morning exercises in the first grade. It was first the Bible reading from the King James Bible, then she played the national anthem. And all the kids in the first grade, I was about 30 or 40 of us, so we were baby boomers, and everyone in the first grade stood for the national anthem, except one person, and that was me, sitting there calmly in my desk each and every day, each and every morning at school. But I was thinking that I was doing the right thing. I was proud of myself. I was patting myself on the back. Look how good I am. Look how righteous I am. Look how strong I am. I'm standing up and believing. I'm not standing. I'm sitting down, demonstrating my faithfulness and obedience to God Almighty. And I don't care what these other ones think of me, what their opinion is. I know I'm right, no matter what. So see, that type of an attitude from a very young age, I think it has an effect on the person for their entire life. It somehow dents, D-E-N-T-S, dents your personality when you think that way, almost, and to be honest, almost a superiority complex. Then, of course, next was the flag salute. Stay seated in your chair at your desk. The entire class salutes the flag. You do not. Now, this also has another side effect. You're putting your classmates and all the ones around you that know you, you're their fellow classmate, you're placing them in a very awkward, troubling situation that they have to know you and see you and have to tolerate you and so on. So it affects their attitude toward you and your attitude toward them. Then I went through all the grades of the elementary school. Same thing next year, though, they did eliminate the Bible reading. It was just the flag salute and the national anthem. So up to 6th grade, all of elementary school, then junior high school, then in high school, the arrangement was just a little bit different. I forget exactly the reason why, but we had a homeroom. We had these morning exercises, and the arrangement was made. I think it was from me or from the teacher. I can't remember who. Instead, to start of these exercises, I would stand up from my desk, walk through the school classroom to the door, go out the door, and I would stand in the hallway until both the flag salute and the national anthem was over. Then I'd go back and sit down in my chair. But this has a tremendous effect on a person, on a young Jehovah's Witness, doing this and going through it. And now, what do all the other ones, all your other classmates in the whole high school think of you, knowing that you do this? So it can bend and warp your personality and it affects your social connections with other people in school. But at the time, I was so happy with myself, so proud of myself, knowing that I was absolutely right and everybody else was wrong. They're worshiping a false idol. They're going to be destroyed, but I'm going to be saved and go into the new world because I was so obedient and righteous. So this is a big thing. Another, which I'll leave you with this. Another thing was about school and why it was really so difficult. At the time, I didn't realize it, but now when I look back on it, I can see the tremendous difficulty that I had to endure. And the second thing is, all the holiday celebrations, Valentine's Day, making Christmas decorations and Halloween, all that is very, very big in school. And but the little witness boy doesn't participate in any of that, so on. So that has a big effect on you. Those two things. I'm going to say thank you. And will the last person leaving the Watchtower, please turn out the new light, and by the way, turn out the old light also. So long for now.
Well, thank you, Larry. Thank you so much for calling in. Would anybody like to tag team with Larry? I have to chime in because those childhood memories, I did excel in school, but from 1st grade on, I wasn't politely doing an exercise. I was literally thrown into the hallway every day. But this was literally picked up from the collar and literally tossed into the hallway. But this didn't hurt me. It helped me to do physical comedy later.
Oh, dear. I can't believe
But every day of 1st grade, I was literally thrown into the hallway. And I remember looking across and seeing the 4th grade class saying, I'm so studious, I can't wait to get to 4th grade. I don't think they'll throw me into the hallway there. But it did kind of have questions with the classmates. Here's an extroverted, beautiful, bright child. Little me could have had more friends than I had. I had some good friends that I still know to this day. But it puts a brick on the head of the child socially. It limits us socially. It makes us stand out in a wrong way with the classmates, even if we excel in everything. And I remember excelling in art, and then the teacher saying, well, why are you having trouble cutting out these green leaves for this Christmas wreath? Well, mentally, I was told I shouldn't do it. She says, well, that's foolish. I said, well, that's what I was told. So then you get to be in retirement age and you see a Smurf shirt that's for Christmas and you think, boy, this would be the perfect ex-witness shirt to wear. I still can't bring myself to get it.
Oh my God. Yeah, school.
Anne Marie?
Yes, go ahead. Is this? Thank you for
Pixie, don't go anywhere. Pixie, don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I had the exact same experience as Pixie. Thrown out of the classroom every single day. And then if you had a substitute teacher, it was really bad. And it was because we didn't celebrate the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. And my school was predominantly African American. And there's another anthem, and we didn't sing that one. And because of that, you were thrown out in the hall every single day. And then I found out when I would go to the next grade, you'd first start school for the next grade, those teachers were so mean to me. Now, as the school year progressed, they softened up, and then I ultimately became one of their favorites. But I could never understand my whole childhood why I had that experience. Well, when I got much older, I was in my 40s, and I was in education. I'm an IT professional, but I was working for a school system. And I began to see the pattern. And what happens is when teachers see a kid continuously out in the hallway or in the principal's office, in their mind, they mark that kid as this kid has a bad attitude, this kid has a disciplinary problem. And so when they get that kid in their class, they put their foot down from the very beginning because in their mind, I'm going to set this kid straight. This kid is not going to be creating chaos in my classroom. And then it finally clicked, going back to my own childhood, that this is why those teachers were so mean to me. Because if I was in third grade, I'm out in the hallway almost every single day. That fourth grade teacher is thinking, well, that kid's going to be in my classroom, and when he comes into my classroom next year, I'm going to get his butt straight. I don't know what he's doing, but he's not going to be disrupting my classroom. And that's why they were mean to me until they realized, it really wasn't me, it was this religion. But then the fifth grade teacher would see it and do the same thing. So we went through hell as witness kids. And I just, when Pixie said that, that just came back to my mind. We went through
I'm
hell
glad to know there was somebody
religion.
else that was literally thrown into the hallway, because I learned to land well. It helped me physically. It helped me with comedy. It helped me with theater pratfalls. I can't, I can't disparage it. And I was the favorite of the teachers, so I didn't have that aspect. But I think I would have been much popular more socially because I started out that way. But
right.
It's like even if you're the good-looking, smart kid, you've got this social thing of, well, they don't do Christmas. Well, how could they not do Christmas? Well, maybe they're Jewish. Well, then the Jewish kid's like, well, you can have a candy cane because it's a shape of J. That's what the Jewish kid told me, that I could have a candy cane because it was in the shape of a J. And so I felt like I could have a candy cane because I love peppermint.
Right.
But it's like your unconscious mind had been totally rearranged to not fit into society.
That's exactly right.
And then in first grade, the teacher came to my beautiful house and talked to my mother. And my mother didn't give a witness. My mother said, well, if that's what she wants to do, well, that didn't help.
No. And then just to piggyback about, like you said, you're rewired. You don't fit into society. So when you leave this cult, like we all did, I don't know about, because we're all in different age groups and different social settings, different parts of the country and all of that. But you'll find that it's difficult to restore friendships. I'll go to work. For example, when I get back to work, everybody will be talking about their weekend. Oh, my college buddy, he came into town and, we went here and we went there. Oh, I got Bears tickets, so we went to the Bears game. And, they have these social systems, these pools of their friends.
I'm not good at it. I have some college friends. I got college friends, and I got 2 friends from that first grade class where I was thrown into the hallway still to this day. But I do not do fun. I don't know how to have a group picture where we're all silly. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't either. And that's the thing about it. And I mentioned earlier, you know, when I was divorced and I was trying to put my life together, that was one thing I realized is I didn't know anything about having fun. I didn't do anything fun. I really didn't even know what fun was. What's fun? You know, as a Watchtower witness, we just kind of sat around at somebody's house, basically eating all the time, talking about, well, when did you learn the truth? Well, what made the truth, you know, yours? And that's kind of all that whole conversation. And what did you read in paragraph 13 of the Watchtower? That was the whole conversation. We didn't discuss anything else. We definitely didn't really go anywhere and do anything. Just, you know, service and maybe somebody's house for dinner, and then right back to the Kingdom Hall. So we were really handicapped. And it's not just Watchtower. It's all these cults. Everybody right now is talking about the 2x2 cult and the similarities with Watchtower. You'll find these cults all pull from the same playbook, and I know you know that. But it's not just these cults. There's a lot of us that are in that same boat.
It said isolating is compliance. So they isolated us from one another on purpose, and it did emotionally cripple all of us.
That's exactly right.
No, I like history houses. I like national park houses where you go where somebody famous, you know, they kept their house because they were a president or they were Frederick Douglass or something. I get a kick out of stuff like that. I like a movie and things like that. But you couldn't even talk about a wholesome thing like that to another witness at a Kingdom Hall.
No. Nope. Not at all. Not at all. Everything you did was extremely limited. And then if you were like me and you wanted to be in the presence of young ladies, that was frowned upon. Well, why are you over there talking with the sisters? Well, why not? Well, you're a brother. You should be with us, you know, as brothers. You know, the Bible says, and they try to come up with some verse that doesn't fit, or Watchtower says. So a lot of us didn't even know how to comport ourselves around the opposite sex. We just didn't know how. We'd even go to, I can't tell you how many times we would go to gatherings. And all the brothers, and I'm talking about all through childhood, high school, the whole thing. All the brothers would be on one side of the room, the sisters on the other side. Nobody knew how to mingle. Nobody knew how to, you know, come together and have fun, because if you look somebody in the eye, you're almost committing adultery with her in your heart. So you were scared to even look at them. You didn't know how to have a conversation with them. And then you take that social awkwardness with the opposite sex, you take that through your whole life with you as well.
Yeah, even the Mormon kids, the LDS kids in my high school, they had dances and they knew how to have social graces and things. And another thing that I learned from a very wealthy man recently, not as a small child, you're supposed to say thank you. If someone brings you a coffee in a restaurant, you're supposed to say thank you. If someone gives you a gift, you're supposed to say thank you. The rich say thank you all the time. And we were not taught some of these manners. I got an etiquette book and memorized it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we really had a job, you know, and like I said before, and I was commenting before, I didn't know anything that I liked as an individual. I couldn't answer that question. And I still get afraid of the question. And if I was to go back into my childhood and somebody asked me, what do you want to do with your life? I'm still afraid of that question because I don't know. I just don't know. I was never exposed to anything. If you said anything, you are always told, well, you had time to be reading the book. Did you read your Watchtower? Did you study that? Did you read for your study? Have you read the Society's publication we got at the district convention? Did you read the yearbook? You know, no matter what you wanted to do, they would counter that with you haven't done enough spiritually. So over time, you just kind of lose. You don't even know what's out there to go and do, to go and learn, to go and read, to go and study, to go and expose yourself to. You just don't know.
Well, just pick something and do it at community college and at your public library. Just pick something at random and give it a try.
Oh yeah. When I said that, I was talking about when I was in that stage of my life. I'm in a completely different stage. I know a lot more of what I like to do. I'm in a class right now, and I've got various hobbies, and so I make sure I travel and expose myself to different things. So yeah, I'm just voicing when I first realized how handicapped I was, when I was getting a divorce. So that was
I
different.
think we
So that
should
was
all
many
have
years
a
ago.
Downton Abbey Christmas because, the witnesses had Christmas until 1924. So.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Oh man, sorry, Anne Marie, we're not trying to take over. We're sorry.
We're just being born in.
Is this Eric?
What's that? What was that?
Are you Eric? I'm trying to pin down your name.
Oh no, this is Stephen again.
Oh, bro, I always get you guys mixed up, and I'm so sorry. Your voices sound the same to me. Yeah, I really appreciate your guys' interchange. Another thing that I didn't think of that you guys really brought out so well is that the Watchtower indoctrination really stunted our social growth. We were not, little kids from very small are exposed to dances and social situations so that, like Pixie was bringing out, simple etiquette, how to socially interact with others. All of that was stunted. We weren't taught that. So that's, it's just a mess. And to not be able to answer a question, what do you like? What do you like to do? What do you want to do? I was asked that in first grade, and I didn't know what I couldn't think of anything. And all I could picture was a nurse. I don't want to be a nurse. I wanted to be a teacher or a lawyer. So, Watchtower really did steal our childhood because it knows how we've grown up differently, our thoughts and behavior.
Hello.
Go ahead. Who's this? Is this Joe?
Hi, this is Joe. I feel so heartfelt for what you're expressing right now. We were not born in, but our children were. And I'm going to regret until the day that I die that we did that. And my heart goes out to you folks and to my children as well. We haven't heard from them over 2.5 years. I have to, what we did not know about that organization, which I wish we did know before we ever got involved, what they are a pedophile-based organization. The people in it were that way. They protected pedophiles throughout its history. And the point is, what can you possibly expect from an organization that's pedophile sensitive? How that they would feel about children growing up. All they did was ever abuse children, use and abuse children in every single way imaginable. You're explaining it, how they did it in school. We think about how our children were in school. I honestly don't think that they went through the same kind of abuse in their generation. In the 90s, it was much more acceptable for people to have differences. But of course, I understand what it was like in the 60s. It was totally different. And I feel for you folks for that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking, what has to be not only addressed, but attacked is the fact that they're doing this because of the type of people that they are. And they're the type of people that have no love for children, only a desire to use them. And it's everything that you're explaining. And to let this go on is as much of a crime as the crime that they are perpetrating themselves. Is kind of soft on them because the government is really not much different than Watchtower. Unfortunately, they're in it together.
And the
Also,
furthest,
lawyers
I'm
really
sorry.
know how to manipulate the government officials.
I'm sorry. Say again.
What's that?
No, I missed what you said, Henry.
Well, I'm thinking of the extensive conglomerate, for lack of a better word, of Watchtower lawyers that the organization has that know how to manipulate the government officials. They're very manipulative.
Yeah.
Outright lie.
I know. See, what they're part of is something that goes way, way, way back. The people in high position, it's been proven and shown, and there's so much evidence of it, that they have a very high demand for deviant practices. The men in high position demand children. They demand them. And there are those who will fill that demand for profit. And that's happening. Watchtower is part of that. Government's part of that. And here's my biggest problem. That organization, Watchtower, will continue to be supported because of people who remain in it. It's the people that are remaining in that are supporting and making that organization what it is. I understand. We were PMO for a year. We were physically and mentally out. We just simply couldn't stand it as long as we were PMO because we were being dishonest. We weren't being truthful. We were living a lie. See, Watchtower draws people who are interested in the truth and grooms them to live a lie. And it's kind of ironic that people come for the truth, but then stay for the lies.
Exactly, and it seems that the ones who really stay, to this day, it seems that the ones that are so loyal are the most fanatical. They're almost kind of on the border, in my mind, of just flat out crazy.
There's no question. There's no question.
There's life. They believe crazy. They believe nonsense. And
well,
they still
or there's other classes of people there. The other class are the opportunists. They're the pedophiles who are in that organization because it's clearly known to be a pedophile paradise. There.
So true.
And the interesting thing is, and I was thinking this the other day, the PMOs, what would you consider the pedophiles to be? Would you say they're PMEs or would you say they're PMOs?
I wouldn't classify them in either way. I think they're just taking advantage of the situation because we know.
Look, they're not PMEs. I wouldn't call them PMEs. I wouldn't call them mentally. And I unfortunately, they're PMOs. And I can't help but feel that the PMOs are the ones that are supporting that organization. And if I'd like to feel a little more sympathetic for the ones that are PMO right now. But the reality is PMOs are helping support that organization. And of those PMOs are pedophiles. I wish I could think of it another way, but I can't. I just can't.
Well, I do hear what you're saying. Personally, can't equate someone who's physically in but mentally out. Staying in the Watchtower, usually it's because they don't want to lose their family or, their child.
Well, that's the magic act that they perform. That's the snare. They get people to support them.
Yeah.
They really don't want to support them. But unfortunately, they're willing to live a lie
Well, thank you, Joe, so much. You know, I really appreciate, Joe, that you brought out how among the Jehovah's Witness organization children, there are victims of abuse. We didn't even touch on the physical abuse because maybe the parents, because the Watchtower has always been pressuring parents, you know, you got to get your kids into shape, you know, do your job as a proper spiritual parent. But then the victims of the Watchtower children, victims who are suffering from being molested or at the hands of sexual predators, that's definitely a huge part of their childhood being stolen, because in the Watchtower organization, so often we've heard these stories of even if the parents believe the children and go to the elders, they're basically told to keep quiet. And many times here's an example, a 14-year-old girl went to the school that was about a block or two from her house. She just wanted to hang out with some of her school friends, and she snuck out of the house and she met them in the room where they kept the sports equipment. And unfortunately, they lured her there and they gang raped her. And she was, of course, totally traumatized, physically damaged. And, you know, her parents did take her to the doctor, and the doctor affirmed that what she had gone through. They went to the elders, and the elders shamed her, and she was literally taken up on the stage and told in front of the whole congregation. The congregation was told that she was a bad person, that she was this, she was that, basically a whore, and that nobody should have anything to do with her. And she's 14 years old. And in every way, this is just not a healthy environment for any child to have to be subjected to. Did anybody have any thoughts? We're a little bit over time, so I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. Star 6.
Yeah, and just another quick thought. I think Joe was spot on. I concur with everything he said. You know, pedophilia has been in the Watchtower since C.T. Russell. There was a young woman, her last name was Ball, and she was 14, and he called her his little wife. He was messing around with her, caused a divorce, and it's been permeating since C.T. Russell to right now. Right now, in the Elders book, or the Flock book, you know, it tells you, well, if an elder is watching child porn, he doesn't have to necessarily be removed from being an elder. My God, he should be removed permanently, because what you put in your brain very shortly ends up you doing it. So pornography or pedophilia should be so repulsive, and yet if an elder is watching it, well, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be removed. That is so sick. And what Joe mentioned just prior to me getting on, but in the system, well, without being political, we know that 20 million people have come across the border illegally. And out of that, 350,000 children are unaccounted for. You know, there's crazy stuff happening in the world. And we used to think that a pedophile was 1 in a million. It's like 1 in 50. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable how much pedophilia is out there. And the Watchtower is the number one solicitor of pornography, not as much pornography, but pedophilia. It's absolutely loaded with it. And that's why the elders aren't going to disfellowship somebody over it anymore, unless the congregation gets a wind of it, because, you know, it's not a big deal. You can't remove an elder for watching pornography or pedophilia, but you can take an elder off the platform or delete him as an elder if they catch him smoking a cigarette. Well, what's worse, smoking a cigarette or watching porn? You know, cigarette smoking might lead to bad lungs and a premature death. But if you're watching child porn, you're going to do what you see on that screen. So Joe is right. He's 100% right. That horrible act pedophilia has been in that organization since its inception. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dick. Yeah, I'm really glad Joe brought that out about, you know, what these poor kids go through and how the Watchtower basically protects.
And Mary, can I jump in again, please?
Go ahead.
I come to realize that everything that organization does supports what they believe in. The role of elder, is what that was a developed role by Watchtower, and they know this, was designed to put men, including pedophiles, into close proximity with young people in ways that they normally even wouldn't be in close contact with them. And it even encourages the young people to get close to the elders. So that means pedophiles know this. They knew this for 100 years, forever long they had elders. And so not only do the pedophiles are catered to by the role of elder, but even men who normally wouldn't be exposed to that, now they're exposed to it and enticing them into pedophilia, whereas normally they wouldn't be. Watchtower is 10 times smarter than every one of us, and they're also 10 times more evil. And the more people that are in that organization are keeping that organization alive. Chemos, unfortunately, are helping keep that organization alive. It's just a sad fact.
Thank you, Joe. Rick, how much time do we have? I know we're over time by about 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's such a good subject, Anne-Marie. There's a lot of people calling in and still want to talk. So why don't you keep it going for another 10, 15 minutes? Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah, hello, Anne Marie.
Well, hello, Ken. Where have you been?
Yeah, I've been not too bad. I've been taking it one day at a time. I've been listening to the program what I could with interest, but I got interrupted. I got a call too to Jay, and yeah, he's holding his own like usual, and he was very talkative tonight. Of course, I had a hard time. I'm having a hard time getting a hold of him again. I keep trying, and I tried tonight, and I finally got him, so he's doing okay. And yeah, I've been listening to the program there, and I guess the question is, whose life is it that the Watchtower did not ruin? No matter if it's men, women, children, senior citizens, middle-aged people, young people, what? They ruin everybody's life right and left. So what their actions are doing. So I guess we'll let some other callers go. But before I go, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and Happy Holidays in general. And everybody at the Six Screens Network, God bless and be with you all. We'll keep listening to the program, and we'll take the next caller.
Well, thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to comment, have an experience to share, a thought on it, or six?
I'm sure I didn't make a lot of friends.
We have about 12 minutes. Go ahead. Anybody share to share? I was thinking about part of the lost childhood. Go ahead. Did somebody want to speak? Okay. I was thinking of how hard it was to be a child in Watchtower going to school. It was hard enough with all of the holidays. I always was respectful with the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, and always got put in the hallway to sit in a chair while activities were going on relating to holidays. But the thing that bothered me the most, believe it or not, was Valentine's Day, because to me it was all about friendship and love, and all of the little cards that they used to sell for children were about my friends, you know, about sharing with your friends. And of course, on Valentine's Day at school, everybody was supposed to give each other their Valentine cards and those cute little hearts that said, you know, be my Valentine or be mine or whatever. And I always wanted to share those little cards with my school friends because I really liked my school friends, my classmates. And what really, really hurt me was every Valentine's Day I'd have to sit at my desk while everybody's passing out their Valentine cards to each other. And those classmates of mine, even though I was a weirdo Jehovah's Witness kid, they would come up to my desk and give me a Valentine's Day card, and they would give me candy. And I never could do the same. And it just really, that was probably in school the hardest thing. Anybody have anything to share? Star 6, don't want to last few minutes.
Well, Anne-Marie, I'll come on. This is Rick here at the 6 Screen Control Panel. But I wanted to mention, I mean, it's an interesting topic. We had a lot of good stories from Pixie and Stefan and, you know, being thrown out of the room. And literally that happened. I mean, the teacher didn't pick you up by the boot of your pants and throw you out, but they scooted you to do it pretty quick. They didn't want you in there. They thought it might have been influencing the other children or whatever. But I have an experience to share when I was a Jehovah's Witness young man. And it had to do with, well, first of all, my mother was a staunch Jehovah's Witness, very loyal. She was the 3rd generation witness, actually, so I would have been a 4th. But my father never became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I upheld the principles of the witness religion because my mother, of course, you know, raised me as a child, and she indoctrinated me into believing everything the witnesses had to offer. But anyways, I was in the 7th grade, and it was Christmas time, and we all had to give one's gifts. And, you know, that was an awkward thing because, you know, I couldn't do that as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So what happened is the teacher, she put a bunch of names in a hat, and she said, okay, students, now you come up, now you pick the name that's in the hat, and you're going to buy a gift for that person. So I picked out a name. In fact, her name was Anne Marie. I can still remember that. Her name was Anne Marie Kelleher. That was her name. And then she also picked my name, which was funny, kind of coincidental. So anyways, this was like a week or so before Christmas. So we had to buy the kids a gift, but you're in an awkward position. You can't speak up and say, well, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses and I don't celebrate Christmas. And I mean, you can't do that. It's just very awkward. So anyways, it came time for the day, and I still didn't tell the girl that I can't give her a gift. So we're all exchanging gifts, and you want to talk about feeling like the 3rd monkey on Noah's Ark. I mean, yeah, I felt like, geez, I was just a young guy too, but I can still remember the feeling. It was really terrifying to have to, when it came my turn, all right, Ricky Ferrin, that's what they call me, Ricky. Ricky, it's now time for you to give Anne Marie her gift. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine the position that you would be put in as a kid? And then I had to tell the whole class, I'm sorry, but I couldn't I can't buy a gift. I couldn't get a gift because I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses and we don't celebrate Christmas. Isn't that awkward, Anne Marie? Huh? Yes.
How old were you, Rick?
Well, I was in the 7th grade. So I think when you're in the 7th grade, I think you're probably about 12, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, 11, 12. Yep.
Oh, that is so, you feel so hurt because in your heart, it doesn't feel wrong to give. And when others are giving to you and giving to each other, but you're not allowed to, like it's wrong. It's like opposite of normal. Everything is so opposite. How awkward for you. I'm so sorry you went through that.
And the poor girl, her name was Anne Marie too. That's what I can remember. And she says, well, Ricky, I got your gift for you. I felt like 2 cents, seriously. I mean, geez, how, you know, the pressure, as you were saying, the lost children of the Watchtower, the pressure that is put on a kid in the Jehovah's Witness religion, these people should be put behind bars to do this to little children.
Yeah, the damage emotionally and mentally, the stress they cause. the uncomfortableness will cause the weirdness, and you try to, make in your mind, figure it out like you're doing the right thing, but it feels so wrong. Kind of like that, Rick?
Yeah, it's really, I mean, there's so many stories we all could tell, and we had a number of people saying it today. It's, in life, Anne Marie, we all feel awkward at times. So sometimes we just don't fit in. We don't light the room up when we come in. You can tell that you're not wanted, right? But I mean, that's basically what Jehovah's Witness organization has done to people. Really, I'm going to be talking about that on the news coming up. I didn't, I didn't like telling people I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't like it because I know it always brought backlash. Oh, you're a Jehovah's Witness? And everybody would kind of run for the hills. It was, you didn't want to bring it up. And especially when you were a kid, I'll tell you, it didn't bother me too much. But I had some young Jehovah's Witness friends, and especially going door to door. I can remember I can remember working with my friends and saying, "Geez, Rick, I hope I don't call on my friends in school. It's going to be so embarrassing." Well, why would you feel like that? I mean, other religious kids didn't feel that way, but geez, you were so afraid to run into your kids at school and then see you out in service. They would think you were crazy.
Yeah, there was a popular, handsome boy in my class named Calvin, and all the girls were gaga and over him. And, I liked him, but, he was a nice guy. And I always tried to act like a normal kid in school. And I'll never forget being in service. And I knocked on this door, and guess who opened the door? And I was so embarrassed. And it was my turn to give the presentation. And, back then we had to have a presentation. Absolutely. Was that awkward or not? Yeah, we really were put through it, weren't we, Rick?
Well, I'm sure everyone has a story to tell, but what caught my attention is Pixie and Stefan. And that I got to go back to being thrown out of the classroom because you didn't want to salute the flag. Now, what I did, because, my father, he was a Marine guy, got out of the Marine Corps. He didn't know that my mother was kind of suggesting you should leave the room. So I told her, Mom, I can't do it. I can't leave the room. It's so, awkward to do that. She says, well, just don't stand up. I says, well, that's going to look more weird. I mean, if you're sitting and the whole class is standing, pledge allegiance to the flag, I mean, that's going to draw so much attention to you. It's going to be really too much to take. So, I mean, what I did, and I got thinking, God is looking down. He knows I'm not nationalistic. He knows I'm not worshiping the flag. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses try to inculcate into your mind. If you stand for the national anthem, or you say the pledge allegiance to the flag, they want to connect that with you worshiping the flag. And I mean, even as a young person, I said, I'm not worshiping the flag, but I would stand up and I would kind of put my hand not over the heart like all the other kids did. I put my hand over my stomach. And I wouldn't recite it. I kind of like make it look like I was, but I wouldn't do it. But then I always thought about the example in Daniel about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And, I mean, they were told by Nebuchadnezzar, bow down. And I got thinking, geez, maybe I should go out of the room. But I just didn't have the guts to do it, Anne-Marie. Just didn't have the guts.
Oh, my God, the pressure. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the same thing at 5 years old when my mom told my brothers and me that she had been studying the Bible and this is what she learned. And she said, so no longer any holidays or birthdays. And oh, by the way, when you go to school tomorrow, you can't salute the flag or do any of this stuff. I'm 5 years old. I remember I went to the school the next day and I had always saluted the flag and, oh, I can't do that. 5 years old, but I was faithful. I was always faithful. But the pressure put on the children and the pressure put on the Jehovah's Witness parents, even though they're well-meaning and a lot of them are loving. And then there are some that are so abusive. But being in school is the hardest. I mean, I can't imagine poor Pixie, 6 years old. being grabbed by the scruff of her collar, by the back of the neck, and just basically tossed out in the hallway like she's a rabid dog or something. Who does that? That, you know, I would have called the cops if somebody treated my child like that. But back then, they probably were just sick to death of it. A lot of people can't stand people in the Watchtower because they're so arrogant and they're so ignorant and they're so better than, and then the children get the backlash. A lot of these parents that raise their kids, maybe they didn't have to go through it, but their children had to go through it. My mother got to have a normal childhood, but she didn't realize, she still doesn't realize what us kids were put through in school as a Jehovah's Witness child. Would anybody like to comment? Anything to add, Rick?
Hello? Marie?
Yes. What's your name, dear? What's your name, dear?
Which one of us? Sorry.
Ooh, what is your name?
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, this is Aaron. I just wanted to add real quick to the discussion there. When I was in elementary school in the early '90s, I think back then, you know, when I was in third, fourth, and fifth grade, I would be more so to go along with, you know, doing the things that the witnesses would want me to do in school, as far as not wanting to, you know, go outside the room during the flag salute, or, you know, especially going to the library or something during the watching a movie that we shouldn't watch, like Christmas movie or holiday movie or something like that. But as I moved into middle school and especially high school, it got to the point where none of us really said the Pledge of Allegiance anyway, and most of us just stood up, and I didn't have any problem standing up and not doing anything. I didn't put my hand on my heart or anything like that, you know, like the others did. And I was totally fine with that. But then again, even back then, when I was like 15, 16, 17, I was already in the waking up process. So I know not everyone's, you know, at that stage, but I just wanted to add that.
Well, I appreciate your comment, and I appreciate your calling in. And, you know, Aaron, that's just adding to the story of the big picture of what we went through. Brother, are you still there? We are out of time. Do you have a quick comment?
Oh, yeah, this was Stephan. I just wanted to say what you just said, that there's so many witnesses that came into the cult after they got a chance to live their life. You know, they grew up, they celebrated holidays, they played sports, some went to college, they did whatever it is that they wanted to do. And then they have children and they don't allow them to do anything, as this whole show has been about. And to your point, they don't understand the damage, you know, that's done to us. And they want to tell us, I had to straighten out the code because he kept saying, oh, you must be so glad that you were born in the organization. Now let's go the first time. By the third time he said that to me, I had to pull him to the side and tell him that it was hellacious being born. And he just looked at me with these eyes. I said, you got a chance to do everything you wanted to do. You played football. You were running back, which is the same position I wanted to play. And I said, you got to have a girlfriend. I said, if we so much as looking at a girl, we're pulled into an elders meeting. I said, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a great experience being raised as a witness. I just wanted to say that. Thanks, Emery.
No, Stephan, I'm so glad you brought that up. I don't know how many times I heard that as well. Well, I want to thank everyone for calling in. We're a little bit over time. And again, the theme of this show, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower, is the lost children of the Watchtower, stolen childhood. Today is December 14th, 2024. I want to thank Jane Doe. I want to thank Dick Borgie from North Carolina. Stephan, thank you for calling in 3 times. I want to thank Larry from New Jersey. I want to thank Pixie. Pixie and Stephan had a very interesting interchange. I want to thank Joe for his comments and Ken for calling in. And I appreciate Rick sharing his experience. And also I want to thank Aaron. Thank you all for coming in. And we need to go now to Rick, World News.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. Appreciate you. Did a good job tonight. A lot of people coming in. Really, really good. A good program. Keep up the good work. And thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks on your Touched by the Tentacles program. But Anne-Marie will be on tomorrow as well at 2 o'clock. She'll be coming on tomorrow, and she will be sharing, well, a program called Ex-Witnesses Share Their Story of Leaving the Watchtower. So she'll be on with us tomorrow. Looking forward to that. So thank you, Anne-Marie. We will end this one right here, right now. So let's end the stream. Thank you all for coming in. Appreciate it. Stay with us now. We got more programming coming up here tonight, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork.